Hi, and welcome to my channel, Laura's Library Card. So this is my August wrap-up video. I'm going to be doing the format a smidgen differently than I've done in the past, and that is because I participated in 2 readathons in August. So I posted weekly updates of what books I had finished in the last week and what prompts those fulfilled. So I'll go ahead and link 1 or 2 of my previous updates in the cards and down in the description box because I kind of discuss all the books that I read in August each week. So I'm not going to right now run through a full description of each one. I'm just going to read off a list of the first 3 weeks and then do that sort of same update for the last week and 2 days of August to kind of round out the last update for August. And then I'll discuss kind of my stats and my top 3 favorite books from August as my whole August wrap up video. So let's start. I'm just going to read through a list of all the books that I read in August, just name an author, and you can find like I said, the updates in the description for where I talk about each of those books more in depth. So I started off with You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson. I read Boyfriend Material by Alexis Hall, Love in Due Time by L.B. Dunbar, which is part of the Green Valley Library series. I read Full Disclosure by Camryn Garrett, A Hunger Like No Other, which is the first book in the Immortals After Dark series, and that author is Kresley. And then I did a little mini historical romance readathon in the middle of the month, so I read Lady Sophia's Lover by Lisa Kleypas, which is the second book in the Bow Street Runners series, and that was the first book I did. That was the historical romance readathon book choice. And then I read The Beast of Beswick by Amalie Howard, which is the Everly Sisters book number 1. I did that as my sort of second book I finished for Historical Romance Readathon, and there was a live show that I participated in with the Book Refuge. So that was really fun. I'll put the link up in the cards and down in the description to the Beast of Beswick live show. And then I read P.S. I Like You by Kasie West, Hairpin Curves by Elia Winters, Addicted to You, which is the first book in the Addicted series, and that's by Krista and Becca Ritchie. And then now we are in the last month of August. So in the last week of August, did I say month of August? In the last week of August, I finished 4 books. I had personal stuff going on, so I kind of finished 1 at the start and then used Saturday, Sunday, and Monday to kind of finish up the month. I would have liked to have completed 100% of all prompts for the Summer Fling readathon and also for the Tropical readathon, but I almost made it. Didn't quite perfectly make it. So what did I finish in the last week of August? The first book I finished in that last week is called Enticed by His Forgotten Lover by Meyer Banks. This is the reason I chose this book is because I needed a category romance for the Summer Fling readathon. And I picked this one because it just sounded funny, but also it has amnesia in it. So that was the trope for a tropical readathon. It had amnesia in it. So this book is very short. It's only like 190 pages, and it follows Raphael, who's this big business guy, billionaire situation, and he has amnesia. He was in like a plane crash a few months before the start of the book. And so he has sort of selective amnesia for the 2 or 3 months leading up to the crash, and there's certain people he kind of forgot about too. And so when this woman shows up and she's like, well, I'm the one that you bought all the land for that you're planning on developing and making a ton of money. Also, I'm carrying your child. He's sort of thrown for a loop. He's like, what? And especially when she tells him that they fell in love, when he came down to potentially buy her land. And then when she sold it to him with him having promised he won't develop it, he's kind of confused. But he kind of yearns to have a family and is intrigued by this woman. And so the whole book is sort of, does he get his memory back? Like, what is he going to do about this land that he now owns? And like, he doesn't want to develop it because he kind of promised, Brittany and the island members, residents, but also like he's got a lot of money in this deal. So this book was really short, and I listened to it on audio. The narrator had a very deep voice, and he spoke kind of slowly, so I was able to like ratchet up the speed. But it was enjoyable, and it was really predictable. That didn't take away from my enjoyment. And so I just kind of was like, yeah, this is a fun romp. I followed the whole thing easy peasy, and there was no surprises, and I enjoyed it. So I'm going to rate Enticed by His Forgotten Lover a solid 3 stars. The next book that I finished in the last week and day of August was The Takeover by T.L. Swan. So I had this book as an ARC through NetGalley, and I read it sort of over the whole month of August, but I finished it right there at the end because I wanted to be able to count it for prompts for my readathons. So it counts for the ebook prompt for Tropical Readathon and counts as Big City Life for the Summer Fling Readathon because it takes place in New York City and Paris. So those are big cities. And I did a whole slightly ranty review on The Takeover, which I will link to the cards in the description, because I didn't like this book. I think it's probably my like lowest rated book of the month. I just found the characters to be really obnoxious and annoying. I didn't see the chemistry between them. I didn't really like the sex between them. The main female character just giggled at every other moment, and I was just like really frustrated reading that book. So if you want to hear my little kind of mini rant about that book, go ahead and check out that full review down in the description. The second to last book that I finished in August, that I finished in the last week, was One to Watch by Stayman-London. This book was the team romance book for the Tropical Readathon. And so, well, one of them, there were a couple different options. And I read that, I bought this on physical, I tabbed it, I vlogged it. That needs edited and will be coming up, so kind of keep an eye out for that coming soon. And I really enjoyed this. I read most of it in just kind of like 2 sittings. And this book follows B, who is a plus size blogger, Instagrammer kind of person who, after calling out the lack of diversity on a show that is essentially like The Bachelorette, they reach out to her and say, well, why don't you be our next person, our next main squeeze? And so she agrees. And so the plot of this book is her agreeing to go on this like Bachelorette show and have these 25 men like pursue her, and she has to date them, and she's hoping to find love. So I really enjoyed it, and like I said, I have a vlog that's coming soon, and so I finished this at the end of August, and I went ahead and rated this 4.5 stars. And the last book that I managed to finish in August, finally, was Midnight Sun by Stephenie Meyer. So it took me essentially the whole month of August to finish this book. I vlogged multiple, I think 3 times throughout the reading of this, and I'm in the process of editing that, so watch out for that coming soon. This book was Twilight from Edward's point of view, and I don't really know what to say about it because I just am working on this vlog. I felt like overall it was fine. Things that it did well was that I think that it made Bella a better character. Her personality and character is more rounded out from Twilight. I felt like Edward was more annoying, and we definitely kind of have like almost too much of his thought process happening in this book. But yeah, in a number of ways it was good, and in a number of ways I was underwhelmed. So watch out for my Midnight Sun vlog coming soon. So for August stats, I read 14 total books, which is a total of 5,289 pages, which I think is pretty good and has been the record so far this year. Possibly highest record ever. I don't know. I've only been keeping stats for like 2 years, so I think this is the highest in a very, very long time. My personal rating system that I track is a little more fluid and partial stars, and so the average for those 14 books was 3.4 stars. I feel like my numbers, ratings are always kind of a little lower than like some other people that I watch on BookTube, but that's because to me like a 2.5 is like a perfectly fine middle of the road average between 1 and 5. So a 2.5 is not like a bad rating, and so I regularly give things 2 or 2.5 if I'm just kind of like, yeah, that was fine, but like meh. And so I think that overall brings down my ratings, and it's kind of unusual for me to rate something 4.5 or 5 stars. The breakdown of how those books in format wise is 5 ebooks, 6 audiobooks, and 3 physical books. The other book that I read on physical was Beast of Beswick, but I already returned that to the library. So my top 3 books of August, this was kind of hard to choose because I had a number of like 4 and 4.5 stars. But I would say the top 3, in the third spot is A Hunger Like No Other by Kresley Cole. This was my first Kresley Cole, I believe, and it was my first Immortals After Dark, and I had heard multiple people on BookTube and through my Discord and YouTube channels all just like raving about Immortals After Dark and how this whole series was amazing. So I listened to it on audiobook, and it was very enjoyable, and I really enjoyed the start of this paranormal series. It definitely set up this whole world of Valkyries and vampires and werewolves, and I thought that it was hot and like sexy, and I also thought that it was very interesting sort of lore wise. So I definitely want to continue on with that series, and I thoroughly enjoyed the first book. And my second top book of August, I'm gonna go ahead and say that my second favorite was One to Watch by Stayman-London. I think it was just really needing in my life something that had a lot of comedy in it at the time that I was reading this book, and also I read the whole thing in like less than 36 hours, and I have never watched Bachelor or Bachelorette, but this book just really grabbed me. I really identified with B because I'm a plus size person too, and I felt like there were a lot of commentaries made about being plus size in our world, especially in media representations. But also I just really enjoyed B kind of coming to have realizations about herself and like what she wants out of life, and sort of some of her own previous limitations and like what she is hoping to get out of doing the show. And there were a lot of moments that made me laugh out loud. There were a lot of moments that kind of made me upset in a like righteous like anger kind of way. But there were also a number of scenes where I just kind of was like touched, my heart was touched. So I really enjoyed this book, and I feel like I read it so fast that I might want to reread it at some point in the future. I'm not sure if I will ever want to do that, just because while I really enjoyed all the emotions and I really enjoyed the commentary that was happening about the plus size community and plus size women in media, I know like how it ends. So to some extent, like the like mystery of who the main character ends up with, like, which guy she picks, has sort of been spoiled. So I don't know. I don't know if it's ever going to be a reread, but I really thoroughly enjoyed One to Watch, and I rated it 4.5 stars. So my top favorite book in August, I have to go with Boyfriend Material by Alexis Hall. This was, I think, the first book or second book I finished of the month. I had it on ebook, and I just tore through it. I enjoyed that book very thoroughly. I did post a book review, and so I'll link that up here in the cards and down in the description for Boyfriend Material. But this was one of those books that, again, it was like hitting the spot right when I needed it to, and it was funny, but it was also very like sweet. I felt like the main character of Luke was sort of he was a hot mess, but at the same time, like, he was endearing to me for that. And I really felt like I was rooting for him to like get his get his crap together. And so Oliver was this like typical like grumpy guy with a heart of gold situation. And his grumpiness and like sort of stuck upness, I thought was a really good counterpoint to Luke and was like sort of exactly what they both needed. But they also just were so emotionally like in touch with each other, and they like worked through things. Like they both like took a moment to be like, okay, so I think this is what's happening here. And they kind of had these little mini, I don't want to say therapy sessions, but just like they were so openly communicative with each other. And I just thought it was really sweet, and I liked both of the, you know, characters. And if you want to hear more, you should definitely check out my boyfriend material book review. So I rated that as my top favorite book from August, and I went ahead and gave it 5 stars. Okay. So like I mentioned earlier, I almost, but not quite, completed a full bingo board for both Summer Fling Readathon and for Tropical Readathon. I basically only had like 1 prompt left to fulfill for both of those. I think there was maybe 2 for Tropical Readathon, and I had started the book that was going to finish out the end of this. I started Two Rogues Make a Right, which was going to fulfill the like last couple slots. And I think that if I like worked hard, I potentially could have books that cover the remaining ones if I was willing to count things twice, but that was like a rule for Tropical Readathon, and I was trying to make that not happen for Summer Fling. But I was very, very close. So here are the boards for Tropical Readathon and for Summer Fling Readathon. You can see all of the books that I fulfilled for the prompts. I had a really great time doing both of these readathons. I think that if I'd been able to not have crap going down in my personal life at the end of August, I might have been able to squeeze in the last little book or 2. I'm also going to say, like, yes, you probably noticed that I have bookshelves behind me. These are brand new, and I am going to be probably filming a bookshelf tour essentially immediately after this video. So that'll be coming soon as to what I plan to put on these bookshelves and use them for. So keep an eye out for that coming soon. And this is normally where I might say something about my September TBR, but I had a like detailed August TBR, and I'm just kind of not feeling that much structure for my September TBR. So I have books that I hope to read in September. I hope to get to Two Rogues Make a Right. I just started Take a Hint, Danny Brown. I'm like 2% into it and already loving it. And I have a couple other books that I know that I want to read. I know the Page Turner Book Club is going to be reading Loveless, so that's on my list. I know that Jen from the Book Refuge chose The Secret for a buddy read for this month, and I'd like to read that. But I don't know. I'm trying to leave September a little bit more open-ended because I also have a bunch of library books, and I don't want that I all want to get to. So I'm just like kind of inundated, story of my life, always too much to read, what to pick. So if you have anything to say about any of the books that I read in August, please comment down below. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, do all of the fun, super, awesome interaction things. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.